The wagon wheels groaned one final time and locked into the dirt of the main square. Maria, Amelia, Sana, and Sheila stepped down, the silence of the city pressing in against them. They did not wait for an invitation. They moved straight toward the palace steps where Queen Easter stood. Her hands shook as she gestured toward the empty stone pedestals lining the plaza. The space where the royal eggs should have rested was barren. "The celebration begins at sunset," the queen said, her voice tight with strain. But the thief took every single egg. The weight of the declaration settled over the group. Maria did not hesitate. She gripped the hilt of her sword, the metal biting into her palm. "We will find them," she said. The promise hung in the air, sharp and absolute. The queen turned toward the palace guards, signaling for assistance. The mission was no longer a matter of travel or inquiry. It was a race against the setting sun. Every second counted. Maria checked her footing, scanned the perimeter for signs of departure, and waited for the guards to mobilize. The urgency was palpable. Amy and Lucy stepped forward, their movements precise and practiced. They did not speak, simply falling into formation with Maria and the others. They moved to the city walls, scanning the ground for any disturbance. Outside the gate, the earth was dry, but near the drainage ditch, the soil was churned and damp. Amy pointed to a series of deep, irregular indentations in the mud. The trail was clear. They began the pursuit, moving at a steady, rhythmic pace across the uneven terrain. The sun was already dipping lower, casting long, distorted shadows across the path. Every few minutes, Maria checked the horizon, watching the sky shift from gold to a bruised purple. The trail led them away from the safety of the kingdom and into the dense, tangled brush of the foothills. At one point, the tracks vanished into a patch of loose gravel. The group fanned out, searching the ground with desperate focus, until Sheila spotted a scuff mark. They pressed on, their breathing becoming heavy as the incline steepened. The air grew colder, smelling of damp earth and stagnant water. By the time the jagged mouth of the cave appeared, the light had bled from the sky. They reached the entrance just as the last sliver of sun vanished. The cave entrance loomed like a jagged wound in the hillside. Maria did not pause to listen. She planted her boot against the heavy wooden door and kicked. The wood splintered, the frame groaned, and the door swung inward with a violent crash. The interior was not dark. A soft, rhythmic pulse of light emanated from the center of the chamber, casting long, dancing shadows against the stone walls. The gang sat in a circle around a pile of ornate eggs, their faces illuminated by the eerie glow. They froze, eyes widening as the group flooded the threshold. The thief sat closest to the light. He did not scramble or flee. He rose slowly, his fingers tightening around the grip of a rusted blade. The air in the cave thickened, smelling of ozone and stale sweat. Maria stepped forward, her hand locked onto her sword hilt, but the thief moved first. He lunged, his boots scraping against the uneven stone floor, the blade leveled at her chest. The sudden movement shattered the silence. The gang scrambled to their feet, knocking over rocks and debris as the narrow space erupted into chaos. Maria braced for the impact, her muscles coiling as the thief closed the distance. Maria sidestepped the lunge, the rusted blade slicing through empty air. Before the thief could recover, Sana dropped low, sweeping his legs out from under him. He hit the stone floor hard, but he was already reaching for a hidden dagger tucked into his belt. Across the chamber, Sheila grabbed a heavy burlap sack, swinging it with enough force to knock a charging henchman backward into the wall. The cave became a blur of motion. Amy and Lucy moved in tandem, their silver spears held level, forcing the remaining gang members into a tight corner. They pinned the men against the jagged stone, leaving no room to maneuver. The thief scrambled to his feet, his fingers closing around the cold steel of the hidden dagger. Amelia saw the movement. She did not hesitate, launching herself across the uneven ground. She collided with the thief, driving him back down into the dirt. The dagger skittered away, clattering against the rock wall. The thief struggled, but Amelia pinned his arms, pressing his chest into the floor. Within moments, The rest of the gang slumped into silence, overcome by the coordinated strikes of the group. The cave fell quiet again, save for the heavy, ragged breathing of the victors. They worked with practiced speed, stacking the glowing eggs into the wagon bed. Each one hummed with a faint, steady warmth. They surged out of the cave, the wagon wheels biting into the dirt as they raced back toward the city walls. The horizon burned deep orange, the sun sinking rapidly behind the distant hills. They cleared the gates just as the final sliver of light touched the earth. Without a word, they moved to the palace steps. They spent the next hour hanging lanterns and carefully placing each egg back onto its pedestal. The townspeople gathered in the square, their voices rising in anticipation. The group retreated to the edge of the stage, leaning against the wooden wagon. Maria caught Amelia's eye. They shared a brief, sharp nod. The music began to swell, filling the square as the lanterns flickered to life.